planting to processing and export, and how you can link all the people together and create a model. That is from, it was started from CSIR. Now we are taking up in ICR, same model, similar thing in croplands also. So I'll tell.
Okay. All right. Okay. That sounds really good, sir. So typically what we do is we always have a Kisan who starts off the webinar, because going by the name Kisan Mitra. So we start off that way. So with your permission, I will actually ask Balaji to speak to us. Balaji is a farmer who is working with Satish, and especially as his, he's using his service for the last 7 years. But over to Balaji. Balaji, you matadakagata. So what we'll do is he will speak in his regional language because he's comfortable, post which Satish will just give us a summary so that we all can understand. But for his comfort, I would like him to speak the way he's in his vernacular, right? So Satish, do we have him ready?
Yeah, he says he is logged in. You're able to.
Yes, I can see him. I can see him.
Okay.
I'm doing that. I'm just trying to let him speak, as well as I'm promoting him to a panelist. Yes. So there he is. Balaji Ore, Namaskara. ನನಗೆ ನೀವು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಾ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ? Balaji Ore. Satish, would you like to tell him to unmute himself? I did try, but
Okay.
yeah. So while we wait for Satish to just connect us, I would like to share a little about what NSRCEL has been doing so far while we have a few minutes. So NSRCEL is the Entrepreneur Hub and a part of the larger institute, Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. We've been supporting the startup ecosystem, and we are an open sector, which means anyone with a good idea which seems sustainable is welcome to be a part of NSRCEL. We support the startups at various stages, but early stages, what our focus is, people who come in with an idea end up going out into making it a successful business. We are sector agnostic. So we have agri-tech, edu-tech, we have food and agri, and then we have women entrepreneurs, we encourage student entrepreneurs through different programs, and through the entrepreneur student cell at IIM Bangalore as well. Namaskara Balaji Ore. Over to our farmer for today. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸೊ ನೋಡಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ನೀವೇನ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಏನೋ ನಿಮ್ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳೋಣ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಏನು ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತೀರಾ, ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ಏನ್ ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ?
ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ವೆಜಿಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ತರ. ನಾವು ಇಷ್ಟು ದಿನ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಟ್, ನೌಕೋಲು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೀಟ್ರೂಟ್, ಈರುಳ್ಳಿ, ಆಲೂಗಡ್ಡೆ, ಈ ತರದ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಳಿತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಫ್ಲವರ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಳಿತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಈಗೆಲ್ಲ ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದೀವಿ. ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿ ಬೆಳೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದೀವಿ ಈಗ. ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆ ನಾವು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ವರ್ಷಕ್ಕೇನು ಅಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳಿತೀವಿ. ಹಲೋ,
ಎಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಷದಿಂದ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಇದು?
ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು ನಮ್ ತಂದೆಯವ್ರ ಕಾಲದಿಂದನೂ ಅವರಿಂದಲೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಈಗ್ಲೂ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ನಮ್ಮ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ.
ಓಕೆ, ಸರಿ. ಇದು ಈಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಮೊದ್ಲು ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರಿ, ಇವಾಗ ಹೆಂಗ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ, ಏನ್ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಇದೆ ಒಂದ್ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀರಾ?
ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಡ್ರಿಪ್ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ದಕ್ ಮೊದ್ಲು ಎಲ್ಲ ನೀರ್ ಹಾಯಿಸಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಡ್ರಿಪ್ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಬಂತು. ಡ್ರಿಪ್ ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಬಂದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಮ್ಯಾನ್ಯುವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಟೈಮ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಬಿಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ.
ಹ್ಮ್.
ಆತರ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಆ
ಹ್ಮ್.
ಕರೆಂಟ್ಗಳು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು.
ಹ್ಮ್.
ನಮ್ಗೆ ನೀರುಗಳು ಡ್ರಿಪ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡೋಕು ನೀರುಗಳು ಸಾಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಟೈಮು ಸಾಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕರೆಂಟ್ಗಳು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಇತ್ತು.
ಹ್ಮ್. ಹ್ಮ್.
ಆ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇತ್ತು.
ಹ್ಮ್.
ಆ, ಮತ್ತೆ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಆದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇದು ಆಗ ಒಂದು 2 ಎಕರೆ ವರ್ಗು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ನಾವು.
ಹ್ಮ್.
2 ಎಕರೆ ವರ್ಗು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಆದ ನಂತರ ನಮ್ಮ ಸತೀಶ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು GKVK ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕನೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಒಂಚೂರು ಸಿಕ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ.
ಹ್ಮ್.
ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಆಚೆಗೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹಾಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಸರಿ, ನಾವು ಆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇದೆ, ಬೇಡ ಸರ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಇದ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ನಮಗೂ ಅದು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಕಾಸ್ಟ್ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವು ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಿಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ನೋಡಿದ್ವಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೂನು. ಸರಿ, ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ನೋಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕೌಂಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ, ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ನೋಡಿ ಇದನ್ನ ನೀವು ನಮ್ ಪ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಒಂದ್ಸಲ ನೋಡಿ ಆಮೇಲೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅಳವಡಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ರು. ಆ ನಂತರ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅವ್ರ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇದ್ರೂನು, ನೀರಿನ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಎಷ್ಟೇ ಇದ್ರೂನು ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಏನು ತೊಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ದಿರ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಈ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅದು ಇದು ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಬಂತು. ಅದೇ ಇದರಿಂದ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಅದು ಅವ್ರು ಸತೀಶ್ ಸರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಾಗ ನಾವು ಇದು ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ. ಅನಂತರ ಇದೇ ಸರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮತ್ತೆ ಇನ್ನೂ 2 ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹಾಕ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಅನುಕೂಲನೂ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ಅನುಕೂಲನೂ ಆಗಿದೆ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಲಾಭನೂ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು
ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಇನ್ನು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ದುಡ್ಡು ಹಾಕಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ.
ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಸೊ ಈಗ ಇದನ್ನೇ ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೀವು ಇನ್ನೂ ಅನ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನು ಇದನ್ನೇ ಬೆಳೆ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ, ಬೇರೆ ಬೆಳೆ ಕೂಡ ಹಾಕ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ? ಏನ್ ಸಮಾಚಾರ?
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವ್ರ, ಅದು ನಾವು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಹಾಕಿದಾಗ ಬರೀ ವೆಜಿಟೇಬಲ್ಸ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಆನಂತರ ಇದನ್ನ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹಾಕಕ್ ಮೊದ್ಲು ಒಂದ್ 2 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೇನೆ ಸಾಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ನೀರು ಹಾಯ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಲೇಬರು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಈಗ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದ್ 2 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅನ್ನೋಷ್ಟು, ಈಗ 4 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ. ಇನ್ನೂ 2 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಅನ್ನೋಷ್ಟು ಭರವಸೆ ಇದೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಮೊದಲು ಮೇನ್ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ರೈತರಿಗೆ ನೀರಿಂದು ಮತ್ತೆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಇಂದು ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ. ಅದು 2 ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬಗೆಹರಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕೆಲ್ಸಗಳೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಏನಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಇದು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ನಾವು ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿನೂ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದೀವಿ ಈಗ.
ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಮೊದ್ಲು 2 ಎಕರೆ ಇತ್ತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ 4 ಎಕರೆ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರಿ. ಇವಾಗ ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದ್ 2 ಎಕರೆ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದೇನೋ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು ಅನಿಸ್ತಿದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ.
ಹೌದಾ?
ಮೊದ್ಲಷ್ಟು ಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ನೀರನ್ನು ತೋಟಕ್ಕೆ ನೀರ್ ಬಿಡೋ ಅಂತ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಅನ್ನೋದೇ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಮೊದ್ಲು ನೀರ್ ಬಿಡೋ ಅಂತದ್ದೇ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಒಂದು 70% ಅದೇ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಈಗ ಅದು ಒಂದು 3/4 ಭಾಗ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅವಾಯ್ಡ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ನೀರುನು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 2 ಎಕರೆಗೆ ಆಗೋ ನೀರೇನೆ 4 ಎಕರೆಗೂನು ನಾವು ಸರಿಬಹುದು ನೀರನ್ನೋದನ್ನ. ಆ ತರ ಇದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅವ್ರೆ.
ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಅಪ್ಪ, ನೀವು ಬಂದು ನೀವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋ ಕೆಲ್ಸದ ವಿಷಯ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಿಳಿಸಿದೀರಾ. ಈಗ ಸತೀಶ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಸತೀಶ್, could you please summarize whatever Balaji has said so everybody will understand. ಅವ್ರೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನೇ ಒಂದು ನೀವ್ ಹೇಳಿರೋ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾರ್ಗು ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ. ಓವರ್ ಟು ಯು ಸತೀಶ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಬಾಲಾಜಿ, ತುಂಬಾ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಎಲ್ಲ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋದ್ರಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ತುಂಬಾ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. Just to give a background about Balaji. Balaji is a farmer, vegetable farmer in Devnalli, that is a Bangalore rural area in Karnataka. So he is doing a farming starting from his father time, actually, like 30-40 years. He has been involved from the childhood, actively involved in farming in his own effort from 15 to 20 years. That's what he is saying. And before that, close to 4 to 5 acre land is what he is having for himself. So out of which, before doing automation, like 7 years back, they were doing only 2 acre irrigation or cultivation, basically. So he had challenges on water management, and also power was not. It's a very erratic in most of the places, especially in rural area. And because of these 2 challenges, he met us in GKVK in Krushi Mela, and later we could explain him on the smart irrigation products and solutions. It took a couple of months to convince him, and Then we told him like we'll put a demo plot there and have a look on the benefits of the product. So immediately he could convert to paid customer for us, and we did an installation in his plot for a vegetable cultivation. So in last 7 to 8 years, he has cultivated many of the crops, like most of the vegetables crops. And the benefits what he has got is the water saving. He himself has told many times, like earlier his tank was lasting for 2 days. Now with the automation, is a tank, the water tank is lasting for 3 days. It means it's almost 50% saving in his plot. And even the labor management, once it is configured, he was not able to. He was not worried basically on the irrigation part of it. So he is automatically, when the power is available, the entire system is taking care of the irrigation and also fertigation injection also. And so the labor or he himself was not required at the farm every time, and most of the time even the power is available at the odd time. Say example like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the night, he has to travel, switch on the pump and switch on the regulate the water flow. But that was completely eliminated. And he mentioned earlier also, but today he didn't touch that point. Basically, since the consistent water irrigation is there for a crop, you could see the better yield with automation, without automation. So close to around 15 to 20% yield was improved using our automation. And initially he had a resistance to adopt the technology, but now he is using, or he's adopted close to around 3 to 4 installation we have done in that area. And through his cousins also, they put 1 or 2 installations. So that's the summary which Balaji was explaining.
Thank you so much, Satish, for summarizing it. 2 challenges that I noticed, which I'd like to state is, I believe the power supply in Devanahalli is only for 3 hours. So they had a major problem trying to pump up the water. Apart from which, there's dearth of water supply as well. Because that place is slowly developing and it is more towards the airport, so it's getting a little more commercialized. So initially he had 2 acres of land. He's made it 4. And he's also looking at growing the dry grapes, drakshi as we call it. And he's looking at, purchasing 2 more acres because he feels that he can manage. Initially, he found the costs very high, but when he saw the yield and the output, he has already invested in 2 more systems, and he's really able to get a very good yield. So thanks for summarizing that. ಬಾಲಾಜಿ ಅವರೇ, ತುಂಬಾ ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್. ನೀವು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲ ತಿಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಅದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಸೌಕರ್ಯವಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಬೇರೆ ತರ ನಿಮ್ ತರಾನೇ ಬೇರೆ ರೈತ ಸಹಾಯಕ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಇದು ಲಾಭದಾಯಕ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ. ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ ನೀವು ಬಂದು ಇದು ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. Now over to the keynote speaker for today. We have the director of NIPD, Dr. Ajit Kumar, and Dr. Ajit has very humbly accepted to be a part of the webinar today, and over to him to share more on how he's looking at revolutionizing the complete, the aroma sector. I think with the vision that he has, it will really go in a very different direction. Over to you, Dr. Ajit Sahai. Please, Ajit Kumar Sasni, over to you to share your thoughts and your vision being a part of ICAR. Thank you, sir. Please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks, Professor Shankar Narasimhan, Mr. Varun, Mr. Srijit, and also Balaji. I think Balaji is here also.
Thank you, sir.
Should I speak in Hindi or English? English will be better or Hindi will be better?
English is good, sir.
Okay. Actually, before coming here, I was a scientist of chief scientist in CSIR, that is Council of Scientific Industrial Research, Central Institute of Medicinal and Aromatic Plants.
Right. Okay.
There, I was the PI of National Aroma Mission. that is started by CSIR with the advice of our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. So we started a national Arma mission in which 6 institutes were involved. That's IIM, IIM Jammu, IHBT, CIMAP Lucknow, NBRI, and 2-3 others. So we selected around 20 plants to be grown in India based on their soil type, climate type, where they can be adapted all over India. So these aromatic plants, we thought that we will be introducing to increase the income of the farmers, because in cash crop, it is a cash crop, so the income of the farmer will be increased. We don't want to replace the existing crop like rice, wheat, vegetables, and all other crops which were growing in the farmer's field. So with this idea, if there is any wasteland, saline affected land, saline and alkalinity affected land, dry land, salt affected land, coastal soil, or orchard soil, orchard land, those unutilized land can be utilized by the farmers, and this can be grown by farmers to get some extra cash. But astonishingly, gradually the farmers shifted to this cultivation because these were giving more cash than the rice or wheat or anything else. So as per example, if you grow lemongrass, then you get around 1.5 lakh per hectare per year from this plant. And this plant doesn't require any care. So if you plant it with the first year and do the weeding, it's a small investment, then it stays up to 5 years, little bit irrigation, stays up to 5 years, and they can go on harvesting every 3 months, distill it and grow it. So with this vision, all this lab, we started. CIMAP has a regional station in research station in Bangalore also. Alsandra, what is that? Near the university, towards the airport.
Yes, yes.
So that is also a major area, hub to cater to the southern part of our India, southern part of India. So with this, we created around 2,200 clusters all over India gradually. This is in the last 4 years or 5 years. So all over India, what is the model then? The model is we used to collect 25 farmers with 25 acre of land, not more, because it will be very easy to manage. Small and marginal farmer, not that big farmer. Big farmer, they have the capacity to buy, they have the capacity to grow, they have the capacity to invest. And we used to get their Aadhaar card and supply the planting material from our quality planting material, the variety released by CIMAP and all other institutes. So these are lemongrass, citronella, tulsi, then vetiver. Sometimes in the hilly area, you have to have rosemary and lavender. All these things were being given to the planting material. In the first year, we started multiplying the planting material in large quantity. So that's the vision we had, that how much planting material will be requiring if you go for 2,000 clusters. So we produced those planting material in the field of CIMAP and other institutes, and we distributed them, told them how to plant, told them how to weed. All the project associates, we utilize some project associates in different state-wise. Around 18 to 19 states we have covered. So in state-wise, we have created the post of project assistant. They used to go to that state, stay there, and tell the farmers, move around and tell the cluster farmers how they will be planting, how they will be irrigating, how they will be weeding, and how they will be caring those plants, and where they can grow. So this clicked. When we started handholding the farmer, this clicked. So I can say the success rate is around more than 80%. So people started sticking to that cultivation unless and until that person is engaged in some other work, or we have done some error in selecting those farmers. Then in due course of time, when the crop started growing, it is a luxurious growth. Depending upon the crop, we have designed the distillation units, essential oil distillation units. So these 25 farmers, we made a cooperative sort of thing. Now we are going for that farmer producer organization to clubbing them together. Then we gave them each cluster one distillation unit. That's the program, what the program envisages, that we have to give the one distillation unit in one cluster, and gave them the training how to distill the plant. And they become the trainers themselves. Now they know to move around. They used to other clusters. We don't have to use any manpower. They will go to other cluster and teach them. So they now know how to distill the essential oil and how to store the essential oil. That is also important. So each step we were having our intervention. Then when the produce came, how to make them, how to have a contact with the market. So we have Essential Oil Association, FAFAI. So there are many exporters and also producer in India. So this is a big market. You can say this is a FMCG items, essential oil. From the morning to evening, you require some aroma one way or the other. Start from your toothbrush and going to the dhub batti or agarbatti in the evening to give sandhya or something like that in the tulsi plant. So you require aroma in every, even if you are the lover of wine, then you want some aroma in the wine also. So we are a UV country and we love aroma. So it will, whatever aroma you will produce, you have aroma in the soaps, you have aroma in the agarbatti, you have aroma in the toothpaste, you have aroma and flavor in the food. So everything you have aroma and flavor. Without that, we cannot live. Indians, we cannot live. In spices, we have aroma. So there are some spice crops also. So these plants grow in the very unfertile soil also. They require very less water. Some plants are salt tolerant. Some plants are alkaline. Accordingly, depending upon the soil type, when we people went, our students went, they analyzed the soil. Accordingly, we recommended the plants. When the plants in higher altitudes, lavender, rosemary, as I told you. So after distillation, so we started making a relationship with the market, the farmers directly, without any in between brokers or traders in between. So these Essential Oil Association and FAFAI, there are big exporters. So they went to the farmers field, started collecting. They actually employed some of their employees in different states to collect the oil, just like in the model of Amul. So they used to collect the oil, how much essential oil they have distilled, the small farmers. So they used to collect the oil, give the money then and there, or transfer the money. When we used to monitor that past 2-3 years. So when the farmers were they were getting money. So in this model, we have started initially. Then we thought India is exporting essential oil in low cost. So to become Atmanirbhar, so we have to produce the fractions, chemicals, also the end products. We have to go for value additions. So why don't you create some entrepreneurs? So each and every states, we selected some of the progressive farmers. We told them, why don't you become entrepreneurs? We produce these products. You can produce soaps. Those soaps, which are the cost will be 10 rupees. You are getting from a branded manufacturer 100 rupees or 150 rupees. So why don't you produce these soaps? So all these things were organic. We have not told them to give any chemical fertilizer, or they don't require any insecticides because these are aromatic plants. So insect, they are repelled. Most of the plants, they repel insects. This aroma insects are being repelled by them.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need any insecticide or pesticides. So like this, in this way, we created around 2,200 clusters. Now,
How many, sir? How many
2,200 clusters all over India. So around 6,000 hectares of land, 50,000 farmers, in the database and track to the market. So if you want, we can have actually specifically, though I am the charge of whole India, but still then I am specifically in charge of Odisha because I am from Odisha. So I was moving personally and looking after the Odisha model. In Odisha model, again, we have 24 clusters. There we have gone to the 18 districts of Odisha. And specific examples, Nabarangpur. I can give one district example, Nabarangpur. Nabarangpur, it is an aspirational district. The news, very often you may find the news coming up. So in Nabarangpur, the districts are very low in the ladder. Now it is third in the ladder. So the farmers' intervention, not only this aromatic intervention, but also the food intervention, the spice intervention, the watershed intervention, ICR, the 7 ICR institutes and 5 CSR institutes, they came together to in an integrated way to help the farmers and the local people to create entrepreneurs. So that is in the national news. So that's a model system we created. Now the other districts, they want us. Now I'm in the monitoring committee and also in the Koraput district. So gradually this model, other districts wants to adopt that model. Once you create a model, and this has to be going to means that you have to see people serving. I don't think I'm exceeding time. Am I?
Sir, you have a few more minutes. You
How many
can go
minutes I
ahead.
have? How many minutes I have?
Another 5 minutes because you have another meeting scheduled at 11, right?
Yes,
It's
that's the
10:50.
minister's meeting that I have to attend. But
Yes,
this is also actually here coming. That's the model system I told. We have already, if you want some farmers name, farmers database, you want to connect, then we will be giving you. I can connect to CMAP, some of the people, then you can have some farmers and traders interaction that we have done many times. So those you can have in your database. Kisan Mitra, there will be some solving of the problems of some of the farmers. You can
Yes.
also contact CMAP regional station. There, Dinesh Nagagodo is there. He is in charge of CMAP regional station. You can contact him. He can give all the addresses and all the farmers in Kudaluru. I will tell you another example of Kudaluru. That's a Kudaluru area is affected by tsunami or the salt affected area. The water comes in Tamil Nadu. So we have planted vetiver. They were also having vetivers, but local variety. We gave the vetiver, which is yielding more than 1% oil. Now the people they're very happy with that essential oil and they're producing many products. Hundreds of products people are producing from vetiver root, from vetiver oil, starting from medicines, local medicine to everything. So another example I'll give in Puri. In Puri, that's Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath, we thought of growing tulsi there. Tulsi. So there are 9 type variety of tulsi being grown there. People are extracting essential oil. The essential oil converted to agarbatti. It goes to the Puri temple. Like this in Shirdi Sai Baba. Shirdi Sai Baba, 500 women are employed in agarbatti factory because the flowers which are coming out of that particular, it is a huge in tons in Shirdi Sai Baba temple. What was happening earlier? It was being recycled. But recycled means the people are again selling those things, taking out this plant and selling those things. That is not a good business practice. So we thought of creating an agarbatti industry there. Now the used flowers are being taken by 500 farmers. One NGO has taken over and they are sorting the flowers, rose, they are getting the essential oil done, and all other flowers they are producing agarbatti. And drying those and producing agarbatti. Like this, there are some of the examples. In crop plants, I want to replicate this. Though I am a biotechnologist, I want to do, I used to spend 20 to 25% time in the field. Without that, I cannot sleep. I have to go to the farmers. Otherwise, as a scientist, what we have done individually. So my hobby is, I'm a biotechnologist, core area of science. I intervene the crop plants for climate resilience. My scientists, they work on climate resilience, producing mainly rice, wheat, chickpea, mustard, and pigeon pea, arar. So we are working, mainly we want to have that Atmanirbhar Bharat, that you can say, we are sufficient in food grains, but we are deficient in pulses and oil seeds. So we are having biotechnological intervention to get those oil quantity and false quantity higher in our country, so that our import will be lesser. But that way we are moving. Now also we are SCSP program. We are going to the farmer in crop plants. Now because I am from aromatic background and biotechnological background, now I am clubbing the crop plants along with the aromatic plants, and that's a better model I am trying to do. And for
That's
that
excellent.
reason, we also need your help. It is not that alone we can do. So even in the field, so we will be helping each other. So thank you very much. I think I should stop here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity in this platform. I have spoken my mind. I have not taken use of any. I have the market status, but if more time is available, then later on I can speak.
Sure, sir.
Thank you,
Let's
madam.
have another detailed session, maybe a little later. We'll talk offline and take this. Pleasure hosting you here. And thanks for bringing about what I think will be a huge change in the way India is looked at in the aroma sector. Because like you mentioned, it does not require too much of maintenance. The plants don't require maintenance. They require very little water, especially some plants. And the farmers are able to get a good, profit out of doing this.
Well, one thing, madam. Now India is topmost producer of mint, for which you got the technology award. Second, India is going to be the highest producer of lemongrass oil in near future.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Pleasure to know you, and I can relate to that because I am Bangalore, the kind of foliage and vegetation, the green cover that we actually have lemongrass tea offered to the.
Yes, I can send you
here.
some. I can send you some lemongrass tea.
That will be wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. And if any of the speakers would like to continue to interact with you on a different sphere, I will connect them up to you, and you can take this further. Thank you so much for being here. You can now, go ahead with your schedule as decided. Thanks for taking time out. Namaskar.
Thank you.
Doctor.
I'm sorry. I will be going out because I have. I'm sorry for that. Otherwise, I love to interact.
So what we'll do is I'll also share the recording with you.
Yes.
And if you want to interact with any of them directly, please let me know. I can connect you up and we can take it forward. Request you to share the details of your coordinates on the chat so that if anyone wants to reach out to you, they will. Probably your email ID and,
Yes. I'm ready to help to the farmers. I'm ready to go to the farmers. If you call me, I'll come to Bangalore. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you so much.
I am honored to be here. Thank you.
Hello,
Yeah, thank you so
madam.
much. Thank you. Thank you, Balaji ಅವರೇ.
ಮೇಡಮ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು ಆಗ್ಲೇ ನಾನು ಮರ್ತ್ಬಿಟ್ಟೆ.
ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ.
ಈಗ ನಾವು ಇದು ಇರಿಗೇಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದ್ರಾಕ್ಷಿ ಬೆಳೆ ಆ ತರದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ನೀರ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ಬೆಳೆಗೂ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಲಿಮಿಟ್ ನೀರ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂಚೂರು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ರೋಗಗಳು ಇದೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಬರೋ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇಂದ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಣ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ.
ಸರಿ, ನಾನು ಅದನ್ನ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೀನಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನೀವ್ ಇವಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ರೆಗ್ಯುಲರ್ ಕೆಲ್ಸಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊರಡ್ಬೋದಪ್ಪ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸೋ ಮಚ್. ನೀವ್ ಬಂದ್ರಿ, ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ನಿಮ್ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ರಿ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗ್ ಅನಿಸ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
Thank you, Balaji. You can log off.
Yeah. So now we'll go over to Mr. Varun. Varun, he is the founder and the entrepreneur, brings in a very different mindset from what we've just heard. Dr. Ajit, he's a scientist, but I think he's trying to bring about a very revolutionary kind of model and workable. And now we will look at what Mr. Sridhar has been doing and how he's been using and a method where he's able to manage any water wastage. So the topic is smart water and wastewater management. Over to Mr. Varun for sharing his pitch and how he's been contributing to the betterment of India and farmers in particular. Varun, over to you.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for this opportunity. First of all, great job, Satish, and I think Mr. Balaji is explaining, and a customer talking about it is a great recognition. I think doing a wonderful job. Yeah. So I'll share my screen. Please let me know if the screen is.
Yes, we are able to see it. It's pretty clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think, what the space that Green Broadband has been is, we are a company that has been in the space of environmental engineering. So we feel that, there's a need for understanding water in terms of quality, quantity, and its usage pattern. So that has been our focus. And how do you manage it better? Where you need treatment, you need to do proper treatment. So all these aspects is what we think are very important when it comes to a user. A user could be a farmer, a user could be even a individual house to, even a community. So I'll quickly run through what, I mean, problem that we find and we would like to, we are addressing. Because I think many of the places I feel because of urbanization, these farms are now supplying tanker waters to apartments, which are huge complexes. I live in an apartment where we need about 9 lakh liters every day. So I think if we, and this is coming from some, I would say, a farmer who's got farms and is supplying it throughout the year. So I think here itself, I think the concept of water management is very clear that we are in a big challenge. So non-availability of fresh water for daily needs is the biggest challenge we find happening across cities and all. I mean, every city is expanding, and urban areas are expanding and going into more of these agricultural lands and setting up there. And of course, we have industries also in non-urban areas. They also require a lot of water. So the need for water is been a big challenge, and its availability is a challenge as well. And then it's I think the second problem, which I'm sure Satish is addressing it very well. So in terms of assets, I mean, pumps and all these assets that is there, today, and say a 10 HP pump needs so much units of electricity, and I mean, do we have that really? So, and if we have it, are we operating it in 10 hours, or are we operating it in 20 hours? Because everything is related to time as well. So your cost is related to that. So a pump which is not performing effectively, might reduce or have lower flow rates, which will make the pump to run for higher hours. So these are all things which we find in any asset. You need to monitor that in terms of its performance. And then third is the lack of availability of reliable data. So I think today Mr. Balaji was saying that I think he has got data right now, and he's also got the technology. So once that is there, you had mentioned saying that he's going to take additional land. So maybe that is a decision that he has taken with enough data. So overall, this is the problem that we are trying to address. And the solution that we try to look at is in these 5 steps. So how do we understand data in terms of these 5 steps, which is the source, the treatment, consumption, recycle, and reuse? So this is applicable in urban areas as well as rural areas. The rural areas I have 2 slides at the end where I'll discuss what we are doing in the villages. But in terms of an overall picture, when you look at the source of water, at what quality are we getting the source of water, and what is the quantity? So this is a very important factor, because today somewhere you need 1 lakh liter of water in a day. Do we have that right source, and are we getting it in multiple sources? So we need to monitor this across. And what we get by doing this is that we also see a pattern. For example, we have many places where we've seen that bore wells suddenly because of the lower groundwater levels, the outputs are less, and this could happen during different seasons. This can happen. So the source is a very important factor to monitor. And today I think the groundwater central groundwater department has come up with monitoring 10,000 meter cube 10,000 liters and above drawing of water from the ground. It has to be monitored, and digital meters has to be installed. So this is a rule that has come pan India, which I think is a very good move to make people understand that are we having the enough quantity of source, and we provide some quality aspects also into this. because one of the concerns or one of the projects that we had done in the past in a rural area was where an industry was there earlier, and that industry had polluted the groundwater with it was highly high concentration of brine was dumped into the ground, and that impact came across almost to a very the area it covered was a lot, and then the nearby agricultural lands suffered. So these are places where quality also plays a very important role, because next comes the treatment. So treatment is critical now, because today there's a report recently from IIT Madras saying the analysis that they have done, and they have found a lot of highly cosmetic, I mean I would say the pharmaceutical wastewater being mixed, and these are all coming in the rivers and lakes. So treatment is very important before we use it. Of course, that will affect the crops as well. And then the third one is consumption, which is where how much water you use, which is smart irrigation, and all this comes under this part. And then finally is another part is recycle and reuse. I think today there is a lot of efforts taken to reuse the wastewater generated at a city level and supply it for non-potable purposes. And there is a national policy also being released by the central government for reuse of this water. We have worked with Bangalore Sewerage Board in monitoring this treated water that has been discharged to a few of the lakes, which leads to further to the villages. So what we see is this is the future where there is a lot of water that we can create by recycling and then reusing it for the purposes. So this is the solution that we do it, and we use IoT as an enabler to understand this data. Say a building wise, say a city wise, we work with the GIFT city in Gujarat to understand a similar pattern. So like that in the rural areas also we are doing it, that I'll explain. So the focus that we have as a company is clean water and sanitation. For that we need to have data, as well as you need to have the correct technologies to solve that. And then of course cities and communities should be sustainable and responsible consumption. And saying we have been working with a few food processing units. Once the agricultural produce is sold to these food processing units, we have been working with entrepreneurs who say, I need to have only 1 liter per ton consumption, or 5 liters per ton consumption. And we have been trying to work with them to maintain that for their produce. So that's another experience we have. But I think it's a vast industry, and every industry should get into that right consumption and production methodology. So what we have done is, we realized that, there is a need for having a, simpler microcontroller or simpler, devices for IoT. Over a period, what we have realized is, the more you have electronics, the more the end user would find it difficult to manage it. So we have been working on improving developing a hardware system that gives water quality, flow, energy, pressure. So all these aspects into a single device with very little electronics to manage, and this will communicate the data into the cloud. So this is a hardware that we have. It's called Smart Infi, where you can plug in any type of sensors. Recently, for the National Jal Jeevan Mission, we were given a task to build a hardware which would give the water quality parameters like pH, TDS, nitrate, chlorine, residual chlorine, and flow meters and pressure transmitters. And so we built a product which is like a single unit with one display and easy to communicate. So I think that's an area that we have been working to simplify the electronics and the hardware for IoT. And this is what currently we use it. We use it across wastewater treatment plants, water treatment plants, buildings, for monitoring water in buildings and communities. So this is a kind of a universal product for multiple application. So once we have the data, obviously, data is there today on our fingertips through mobile apps and dashboards. But what we think is that, we've been in this space from 2016 in terms of building this hardware and getting the data onto the cloud. So we see a lot of patterns being built, and we are using these patterns to build sensible actions that can be taken. A simple example being, where you need chlorination, you need to have right chlorination, which has to be automated. So in terms of quality and quantity, there are some things that we need to maintain. If the flow rates of the pumps are low, then there is a problem. So you can predict there are issues coming in, a pressure is a difference, leakages. So there are multiple applications. Obviously, it is customized. It can't be one for everybody. So once you get the data, we can customize it. Next is, I mean, I think this problem has already been addressed by Satish. So what we do also is that, we measure in real time the tank levels and also quantity of water, flow rate, and also the performance of the pump. So this is an IoT based automation system for pump monitoring. This is possible in any setting. So we have deployed this in primarily in more of these buildings, but we,
I have a small request.
yeah,
Actually going out of time.
yeah.
So
So I think last slide,
for that,
I'll go to the last slide.
yeah, if you can kind of summarize that in the next couple of minutes, that will help. Thank
Yeah. So I think the last slide is that, so we have been selected as one of the companies by the National Jal Jeevan Mission. So where we have been given to develop a product, engineered product to be installed in villages to measure the water quality, quantity, and pressure. So what you see, so we have deployed in 13 villages in Karnataka, in Ramnagara district, where this is the overhead tank. So these sensors are connected in the overhead tanks. And then this is a branch node. So from a overhead tank, it divides into multiple branches. So there we have these quality sensors and flow meters. And from there, this is the last house in a particular village. So we measure the pressure and flow in this particular house. So this is a in a setting that we have. I mean, this is a installation that we have done for villages. I think very quickly I'll run through this video. So this is a project funded by the Ministry of Drinking Water, that is through the Jal Jeevan Mission and Ministry of Electronics. So they were very specific on what is to be measured: fluoride, nitrate, and different water quality parameters and sensors. And then the sensors are installed at different stages, and it has to be solar powered with battery backup. So this is installation in one village. So what we are able to now do is within one day we are able to make any such source node of a village smart with these sensors. Smart is an overused word, but I think you get the data from these systems on how much water is consumed. So we have done it in 13 villages. These are different installations that we have done in Karnataka. And then we have 10 villages in Gujarat where we have installed in this village named Mehsana district. And then there is, they also gave us the opportunity to install in Ladakh. That was another experience we had. So this is in Kargil, Dras, where we have installed these systems. So data on water supply is now being available, and then currently this challenge is.
Varun, you've been doing some amazing work. What I wanted to check with you is when you say the data has been captured, and I see the installations across different places, not just in Karnataka, but in Ladakh and other places, which are difficult terrain as well. So
correct.
Where's this data available? Is it available with you as
No. So I think I've shared the screen. So there is actually it's been launched last week. So after we finished all the installation, so there are 89 villages. So 4 companies have been selected to do this, and all of us been given 25 villages. And so these are so now this data is available live on the National Jal Jeevan website. So
that's wonderful. I think that's a terrific solution that you've come up with, because we all know that the quality of groundwater is getting depleted really soon, and it's the taste of the water and the health of many of us is because of the poor quality. And I think the way you're taking care of the water which is wasteful, I think is really good. Really appreciate the work that your organization is doing. And I will probably want to reach out to you for different startups who are in similar space, of how they can utilize this data that you've connected and how they can work with you in a collaborative manner to get this together and resolve this problem, at least in the next few years, so it doesn't get worse than what it already is. So fantastic. Very good going, Varun. Thank you so much with this. I think I'd like to the end of this particular presentation. Excellent work, Varun.
Thank you. Sorry, I took some extra time, but the story was just going on. Sorry for that.
I understand. So with this, we will go over to our next speaker for today, Satish. You've actually seen, like some of you mentioned, you've already seen the customer validation. Over to you, Satish, to get on to what Flybird has been doing and how you've been helping. Probably you can talk a little more than what has already been shared. And thanks, Varun, once again. Pleasure hosting you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, Professor Shankar. Yeah, thank you, Satish.
Thank you, Mukta. Thank you, Varun. You are doing a wonderful job. So definitely I will get in touch with you and we'll talk more on that. Yeah, I'll quickly introduce you about myself and then what we do. Basically, I'm a engineer and I was working with HCL Technologies in Bangalore for aerospace and automotive domain. So product development, electronics and software product development.
Satish, sorry. Sorry everyone for interrupting. I was Professor Shankar was supposed to speak next, but Professor, I hope you don't mind. We'll have you schedule next. Is that okay, sir?
Yeah, no problem at all.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, over to you, Satish. Please continue.
Yeah. So I was working with HCL and mainly into product development and software development. So along with that, agriculture was passionate about to me, and then was doing a weekend farming in my native. So that's when I noticed the challenges on the crop management and managing the water. Available water was a big challenge, and yield was not up to the mark. And labor was a big challenge. Like we used to tell him like irrigate for 1 hour, he used to irrigate for only half an hour or sometimes 2 hours. Because of that, crop yield was not up to the mark. So this was a trigger point. And in 2013, I left my job in HCL and started Flybird Farm Innovation. So what we do in Flybird Farm Innovation, we want to produce or we want to design and develop the affordable smart irrigation solutions, which can fit in for small and marginal farmers. Basically, less than 10 acre is a customer segment we want to focus. So everybody would have, even Balaji was explaining the transition from drip irrigation, and from drip irrigation now to automation, and again in the automation a lot of technologies on the AI and IoT part of it. So when we started our product development, the drip irrigation, we wanted to add the value addition on top of it. So basically in the drip irrigation, you can say only the water saving could be around 60 to 70%. So using automation, we can improve the water efficiency by almost like 90% or even 100%. I would say. So that's when we started designing our product based on the customer inputs. We did a lot of surveys in most of the districts in Karnataka and come up with the product development initially on the water management products. So when it comes for our challenges, I would say broadly, as everybody, we have discussed most of them. So I would say like right amount of water and right amount of fertilizer to the crop is a key for a crop growth and also for a better yield. So that's where you want to come in, and that's a key part of it. And additionally, in most of the districts, the water table has gone down like almost like 800 to 1,000 feet, and with the available water, we need to use it very effectively. So that's the trigger point. And also from the government of India, there is a lot of push for more crop per drop initiatives and policies. So we come under in that policy, and then we want to push more using less water, produce more. So that's the push, or that's the challenge which we are trying to address. So product wise, you can see the typical layout in the farmland. So there is a bore well, there is a sump, and from there the water distribution goes to the specific plot. Say example, there's a drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, or even it could be a protective cultivation or even a shade net cultivation. So every crop requires a different water amount of water and also fertilizer. So our automation, Flybird automation product, based on the crop type, crop age also, it decides how much of water has to be let out and how much of even fertilizer is let out based on the multiple sensors. So we have a multiple sensors like soil moisture, soil temperature, or even temperature, humidity on the field. And it takes all the sensor data, and based on that, it'll start the irrigation um, based on the crop stage. And we have basic versions also, like say example, some farmers want only the timer based irrigation, say example without any sensor. It's very basic, and that's the most it's like most widely used product actually in the timer based or even the quantity based irrigation. Say example, they want to irrigate for 10,000 liters, automatically 10,000 liters can be let out, and it can switch off the motor and it can switch off the valves. And along with the irrigation, even the fertilizer application, say example, in most of the field, one tank injection, they mix up the fertilizer in small bucket, and in that bucket, even along with the water, even the fertilizers can be injected in the drip irrigation itself. So that's the basic version, basic product which you have developed that is very affordable. And the advanced one, as I said, like using a soil moisture, temperature, temperature, humidity, EC and pH based controller we have implemented.
So I have a small request here, Satish, because your product was actually shared, the effect of which the outcome was shared by Balaji, the farmer. What I suggest is we get to the number straight. I mean, show this part because it's an important part. So you showed us the different products that are there and different systems that can help. And after this, maybe we can get to the numbers because that would help.
Yeah, and understand because of the time shortage. Yes. Sure. Yes. So these are the product, and I'll straight away get into the other slides also. So I was talking about even we have implemented a AI-based artificial intelligence-based product also. This is a sensorless product actually. Like we don't have any soil moisture, soil temperature technology. Based on the satellite image, we can decide the irrigation requirement and also fertigation requirement. So high-end product. And when it comes for a customer segment, so our product is more suitable or very much suitable for most of the customer segment, like open field, it is suitable, and greenhouse, shade net, or even a large community-based irrigations, like say like 50 to 100 acre or 200 acre community-based irrigation, or even a corporate farming, plantation crops like coffee, tea estates, we can implement. And there are other markets also like hydroponic and aerophonic, that market is picking up, and our automation is very much suitable in that customer segment. And Balaji has touched some of the parameters here or the impact which you created. So I just want to highlight on the water saving, that 25 to 30% has been saved using automation, and crop yield improved by 10 to 15%, and more importantly, even fertilizer saving was there like 20-25%, because it was very precisely we were injecting to the required root zone actually. And there are additional benefits, like even the power was saved, and also environmental impacts were there using automation. And this was a third-party validation. So using KVK Nandurbar in Maharashtra and Flybird and third-party agency, we have done this survey like almost 3 years back.
Very interesting. We seem to have some participants from KVK Buldana also today, Maharashtra.
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that as well. Good to see that. So these are the numbers that you've been able to achieve, and the impact that
you have done close to. So we have done close to around 600 plus installations, and we have raised a equity investment, and this is the team. And we have a mentor from Wilgrow Innovation Foundation. That's a seed investor for us, and Srinivas Ramojaram, he sits in our board, and he has come with 20 years of experience in automotive. And so investors and some of the finalists like in FICCI and ISHO, we were finalists. That's all I have. So any specific, we can they can reach out me on this number.
Thank you so much, Satish. Satish and Varun, could you please share your details, connecting details on the chat so that everyone can reach out to you? Share your web link, your email ID, and your coordinates on the chat, please.
Sure. Yes.
Thank you so much, Satish. And over to Professor Shankar Narasimhan. Professor, Sorry to have changed the schedule a bit. There were a few reasons to do that, but please go ahead and share what you've been doing. So Professor Shankar has actually he's been teaching, but what I really like about his approach is he's been talking about using IoT and latest technologies as an enablement, and Gyan Data is the Gyan data, you can say, but I'll say data as well, because it gets everything together. And I think data is extremely important when you're trying to deal with impact and getting analytics using technology in the real sense. I think it would be a pleasure to know more about what he does. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to everyone here, and special thanks to Mukta for giving us this opportunity. We are relatively new to this area of agricultural thing, but I think there are a lot of parallels between what we do for the industry, and I believe some of the technologies can be cross-cutting and be used in the agricultural area, provided, of course, I mean, the data is available. So I'm just going to give you one of our engagements with a fertilizer company that we worked with, and also tell you what we found from that. These are not implemented in the field, so please bear with me. This is a proof of concept. So I believe that it just sets the direction for the kind of data you should gather and the kind of advantages that you can potentially get from good data gathering and analytics solution. I am a full-time faculty at IIT Madras in the what we call the systems and control group. In fact, we do a lot of work in water area, but that has not been commercialized as yet. I do know Varun because he also works with some faculty member in our group. So I do believe some of the technologies that we have might be useful both for Varun and Satish. That I will take it up offline when I get a chance. Thanks for the nice presentations to both of them and to see their field implementations. Now, let me specifically talk about the application that I'm going to describe more. We are looking at the application of fertilizer, specifically the NPK fertilizers. How much should you dose and when should you dose? That's the primary focus of this. And is it possible to predict the growth of the plant? How much will you get from early stage information about the plant growth? So we can combine this in effectively applying the fertilizer. And if you have a control system that like what Satish described, it can be actually implemented in the field also. So I think this gives you the kind of background. What is it that you need to do? Once those decision thing is available, then the implementation aspects can be taken over by the automation system. That's the where we come from. And we are a company that been in the business for about 10 years now, incubated at IIT Madras. And our primary thing has been in the use of data analytics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. We develop very, very customized solution to extremely difficult problems in the manufacturing industry, public sector and private sector. And we deploy high level skilled resources to define first of all the problem, help with the collection of the data, and then come up with the solution and then implement a software, package it and deploy it in their customer site. So end-to-end solution development and deployment is what we do. So this is a particular example I'm going to actually talk about. Is it possible to increase crop yield using analytics? And for that, one of the fertilizer company had actually collected data in the Andhra Pradesh, Chittoor, Guntur, and West Godavari districts, and between 2016 and 19 on both paddy and more recently on chilies. So the aim of that company was mainly to find out whether there are different fertilizer manufactured by different companies. Do they have the same impact? If they have the same NPK content, or is their product a little superior? They wanted to establish superiority of the product, but we actually extended the scope to actually say, well, is it possible to predict crop growth based on the height of the plant, which you take it at different points? Typically, these paddy probably takes about 120 days, and chili takes about 140 days for harvesting from the time of cropping. And early days, if you can take the height of the measure the height of the plant, is it possible to say how much will it yield? So this might be useful in terms of either application of the fertilizer to what I call accelerate growth, or maybe, you know, take insurance or something like that if you feel that the crop is actually getting stunted for whatever reason. So this is something that we are doing, and the data itself was provided by the farmers, which they had identified, and the samples from about 90 fields were obtained every 15 days over a 120-day period. And they also looked at the total yield in terms of weight, in terms of the quality of the grains, what percentage of the grains were Shafi, and also what is the grain weight in terms of 1,000 grains, what is the weight, and these kind of information that they had gathered for these 90 fields. So we were asking the analyzing the data, and of course the data unfortunately is still not sufficient for a typical data analysis exercise, and also there were a lot of what I call data that had to be discarded because the recording was not good enough. And despite all this, we said, okay, let's do the analysis. And I'm not going to talk about the techniques themselves we used, because that's not of interest. But essentially, our direction was, can we develop a model between the yield of paddy and the application of the fertilizer, total amount of nitrogen, phosphatic fertilizers, potassium and sulfur fertilizers that were added. So we looked at the bulk quantity, that was total quantity that was added over this entire period, and said, does it actually correlate well with the yield? And we found that the addition, fertilizer addition, does not really correlate well. We said that, you know, more fertilizer usage does not mean more growth. This could be because of two reasons. One, because the soil conditions were not actually analyzed by the company, which is what we first said, that you need to get the soil health before and after, before application of the thing, before the start of the crop growth and at the end of the crop growth, which we know what is the uptake from the application. So this is something that has to be kept in mind, that we still don't think the data is sufficient. But one conclusion was that the total fertilizer addition does not correlate well with the. But however, if we actually look at the dosage pattern, when was this fertilizer added, then we could actually come up with fairly good correlation between the yield and the addition. So that way I will actually present some results related to it. So the main thing was here, we said that it is important that they start taking more information out of this, especially the soil health, which they were not measuring, and also the rainfall data that is available publicly now, at least at the gross level, that is available from the Met department today. That's directly available, that we could actually use in order to find out the water usage also, other than the fertilizer usage. I was thinking that, you know, in Satish's case, all this information is directly available once the system is implemented. They could actually have a database where they could record all the information available, and then that will actually give you much better what I call information really for developing such models and predicting. So this is another thing that we try to do. Is the paddy height related to the yield in some way? And here we found very good interesting correlations. We said, look, what happens to the paddy height versus yield, and we found that there is a reasonable correlation between the height of the plant and the yield. But if we put all the data for different seasons, like the Kharif and Rabi crop and all the different regions, districts, then we don't get a single what I call relationship. If you can divide this by region as well as by the season, we found that the slope, we could find different the correlation coefficients were different, which means that the growth rates are actually different. So in the Kharif season, there was a certain type of growth rate, and in the Rabi season, they are different. And this one tells you that the pink ones correspond to a certain Kharif 2016 and the Kharif growth, whereas the dark, let's say the purple ones, were related to the Rabi things. And you can see the Rabi, the 51-52, actually has a certain slope, which is actually much higher. The height actually showed you there's much better performance or yield. Whereas if you look at the purple pink 40-45 regions, which is a different set of districts, you could see that the growth rate was not probably not as high as the other ones, but comparable. Whereas the Rabi, the Kharif crops didn't show that kind of the trend was comparatively much lower. So we could say that perhaps, I mean, one should look at the time thing. Maybe the farmer knows this, but certainly there is a growth thing that is dependent on both the season and district wise also we could find differences, which is an important conclusion when you are actually trying to actually even suggest what kind of fertilizer usage should be there in different regions. This is something that was it. And this kind of information, although they took it only 2 days, it is possible with the image-based analysis now to estimate the height directly. So from a mobile phone, one takes an image and that can be easily processed to analytics to actually estimate the height. And we are involved with developing such algorithms for estimating height from images directly, depending on the angle at which you think, and use reference values and so on. So I think that's possible, and that basically makes it easy for the data collection. One need not go to the field. The farmer just simply takes a image and uploads it, and that basically can be used to track the growth and provide more customized solutions in this regard. That's what we feel. In the chilies case, that we didn't have too many years of data. They basically had data that for particular year, but here they had taken much fine-grained data. What was the fertilizer applied at the 15th day, 30th day, 40th day, and so on and so forth, right up to the 140 days. They had a thing, and the salient conclusion here we could actually obtain from analyzing data is early stage application of the fertilizer had significant impact. Whereas if you actually add this fertilizer in the later stage of the plant growth, after 80 days, for example, we showed that the growth is not affected by this. So this essentially tells you that even if you're going to apply fertilizers, it's better to do it in the early stage rather than the late stage. And of course, this can be growth dependent, but that part of it we have not checked here because there were no height measurements of the crop here. So all that we had is we could see very clearly that when you're going to apply any of the fertilizers, NPKs, it is better to apply it before the 80th day rather than after that. And to just give you an example of how currently the fertilizers are being applied, the left-hand side figure here shows how much fertilizers are available added during the over all the fields. There were about 200 fields where they have taken data. This shows that the 0th day start of the thing, what is the distribution of the addition in terms of the NPKs, all four, there are 4 bars related to NPKs and so on. And this tells you how much fertilizer was added over all the 200 fields. So you can see that most of the fields you might say are applying it before 80, but there are several fields where they are applying significant amount of fertilizer in the 100th day, 120th day, and even close to the what I call the maturation stage of the plant, which doesn't make sense, right? And we showed very clearly that any of these fertilizers, whether you add NPKs, none of them had an impact on the yield beyond the 80th day. So this basically shows you some kind of negative correlation. This tells you what's called the impact of fertilizer added N on the 30th day, 50th day, 80th day, and 120th day. Positive indicates that they had a significant positive effect on the growth. Negative implies that they may actually have a deleterious effect on the plant yield. So in all cases, whether it was N, P, or K, or S, we showed that beyond the 80th or 100th day, it is just not worth it. And whereas all the things that are added prior to it had a positive effect and so on. So this is something that that could be utilized for basically timing the fertilizer usage, not just simply deciding on the amount. So that's something that was useful to determine. All of this are preliminary results. I'm not going to say that we can take to the field. It just shows that more what I call careful data gathering in this has to be obtained for confirming this, and probably even talking to the farmers whether they have noticed this kind of thing, confirmation from them, and then we can actually go ahead with the automated implementation plan or a suggested implementation plan through the use of mobile services and so on. That's what we think that you can do. So Typically our engagement models with clients, we may not be able to talk obviously directly to the farmers themselves, but we can engage with other companies like what Satish is doing in terms of providing services, add-on services, where we look at the data analytics, whether it's on a time and materials mode, monthly basis, or a project mode, if they have a very, very well-defined project. That's how we have been interacting with other organizations. Currently, we have been selected by the AP Markfed organization for looking at the movement of products, paddy and other crops from the farmers to the warehouses. At whom do we purchase it? How do we transport it, and so on? We have solved such problems for the oil sector in terms of movement of petroleum products like gasoline and diesel, and those kind of algorithms can be used here in order to decide what is the optimal way in which we move products. And here there is an additional thing of quality monitoring and so on. So we are actually started the process of scoping out the project for them, and hopefully they will be able to come up with solutions. So this just gives you a kind of an overview of the kind of capabilities that we have, and we are only too willing to kind of engage with other companies that are involved in the sector and add value to the farmers ultimately. So thank you for listening to me, and I've just provided my email ID, naras@gyan-data. If you can write to us, you have more case studies are described in our website, and I've not provided my phone number, but I can do that, share with you if you want to get
Professor, could you please share this on the chat as well? So whoever wants to reach out, they can do that. Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. Pleasure listening to you, Professor. Thanks for sharing the analytics, the data gathering and the challenges and all that you've been doing to get together. But there is proof that I think if the data is gathered in the right direction, like you were mentioning, especially for the chilies example, then there is a possibility that this can really go in a very big way to support others who are looking for data. So I think we would like to reach out to you for any startups who are involved in collecting data. And there are quite a few today here who are sharing similar, kind of a solution. So pleasure hosting you, Professor Shankar. Thank you for sharing your time and these details with us. We are hoping that we can continue to interact offline and through other interventions as well. So this is is there anything that you'd like to say before you?
Thanks for the opportunity. Any questions? I mean, I can probably share. I mean, you feel free to share the PowerPoint presentation with anybody. I'm sure there's a portal.
Sure. Sure. I'll actually share the details of your coordinates, because they might want to reach out to you and see what Gyan-Data is doing and how you're going about it and what they can do and how they can collaborate with you. So thank you so much, Professor. Thanks to all the speakers and to everyone who's been here. Please looking forward to engaging you all on the same technologies, but in different vernaculars. The next one will be Tamil. We'll host you in Tamil and in Hindi and Telugu as well. So we are having IIM Lucknow support us in hosting this in Hindi, and a couple of other institutes in Tamil Nadu hosting it in both in Tamil Nadu in Tamil and in Telugu from Vizag as well. So we have different partners and they'll reach out to you. So we'll take it forward in that way. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Professor, and to all the speakers, Varun, Satish for also ensuring that his farmer Balaji is there and having a conversation previously and ensuring that is there. So like Varun was saying, I think there could be no bigger validation than a customer validation. So great having you all, and thanks for your time. Pleasure hosting you. Thank you. With this, we come to an end session today.
Nice to meet all of you, Varun and Satish, to know about your work.
Thank you, sir. I will get in touch with you. I'll talk to you.
Sure.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thanks, Mukta.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Satish, Varun, and Professor.